Let me just make sure what everyone is seeing, and it appears that we are indeed on the correct slide. Good afternoon and happy Wednesday. I hope all is well with you and yours where you are today. My name is Brian, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the next session of the FDOT CAD Office webinar series. Today is Wednesday, October 8th. We are officially in fall. Halloween is right around the corner. And the days are getting shorter up here. The sun is setting earlier. I'm telling you what, we are right on the cusp of cooler weather up here in the Panhandle, and I, for one, cannot wait. I am done with sweating. I'm done with it. It's over. We need it gone for 2025. This afternoon, I should say, we have a fantastic presentation for you on surveying and mapping workflows with a detailed look into building a design survey. Our instructor is the one and only, the unrivaled, the unmatched, the unsurpassed, the incomparable Mr. John Hazlip. John is the surveying and mapping manager of the Office of Operation Technology / Surveying and Mapping Office. John is the undisputed subject matter expert for our topic today. He's been with the department longer than I have. I've been around for close to 20 years. Every time I start feeling old, I think about John, and I don't feel quite as bad. So we'll get this moving right along. All attendees will be in listen-only mode for this webinar. Please submit any questions you have to the question dialog box. Time permitting, there will be a QA session at the end of the webinar, and your instructors will receive a report for all the questions and comments submitted through the webinar. It is our intention to record this presentation and post it to the CAD office website, and that's the resource with the same website which you access the registration link for this webinar. As of this morning, we had 38 people scheduled to sign in today. So should anyone experience a loss of audio during the presentation or during the transitions, please know the quickest and easiest way to remedy that issue is to disconnect and reconnect from the webinar. GoTo will record and compile and report the entire time that you are on as well. I will say that I was a little preemptive in sending out that DGN file. John's going to talk a little bit more about that, but you don't have to be following along the entire time. Am I muted? John, can you hear me? Yeah,
yeah,
somebody said, okay, somebody said I was muted and then they left. So I guess they actually said I'm mudded. So it's all good. John, I'm going to turn it right over to you, and we can get this thing kicked off.
Okay, and you need to make me presenter.
Yep.
And show my screen.
All right. Yeah, I got you.
And which screen am I showing?
You are showing the the one where your mouse is dancing on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I see you.
All right. Well, thanks, Brian. I hope I can live up to that gross exaggeration of my abilities. But yes, so welcome everyone. In today's webinar, I will build a FDOT compliant design survey using Open Roads Designer Connect Edition version 2024 and design survey workflow, and using the CAD support software FDOT Connect 2024. Okay. And so I'm going to just jump right in. One of the things I did want to mention that, yes, this is not a follow along with the file type of webinar. I'm going to be going through this very fast. And one of the problems, I'll just mention this now, if you remember back from Geopack days and the Geopack manual, it would say, when you're working in terrain models, please close the Geopack down from time to time and then open it back up because it builds up memory and causes crashes. That, unfortunately, is still true. You get in there and start messing around with these terrain models, moving them, rotating them, editing them, and the next thing you know, you're gonna have a crash. So I probably will, I'll definitely will stop and close it a couple of times. Hopefully, we'll avoid some crashes. Okay. So next, I want to talk about the objectives of ORD of this webinar, and the ORD. One of them is understanding the ORD work sets and opening files outside of the current work set. So one of the things, I'm going to go ahead and go up here now. Once you get into ORD, once you install FDO Connect 2024, you're going to have a folder, something like this. The executable is going to be at top. Note that workspace doctor is the bottom. If you're having any kind of weird errors or tools that just for some reason are not working, crashes, frequent crashes, run that workspace doctor. It does miracles. So I'm going to open up ORD, and this again is the 2024 version, 2.25 version update, and give that a moment to update. While that is going on, while that's opening up, well, it's actually going to do it pretty quick. I wanted to go in here. Oops, make sure I got this right. I want to talk about this CERB-RD and the FDOT features and files. One of the things you will need are FDOT features from the FDOT that are embedded in the FDOT Connect 2024 and all of our state kits for that matter. And we keep the feature tables, the current feature tables on the surveying and mapping documents and publications page. I'll provide a link in the PowerPoint so you can go there, but you can just Google FDOT surveying and mapping and you will definitely get right to it. It's going to show up as documents and publications as you cruise down through these different files. You're going to find on April 24, 2025, survey mapping CAD features were updated. It's an Excel spreadsheet. It's going to look like this once you open it, download it, and open it. It's going to be somewhere in here. It's going to have feature codes, your level names, your level descriptions, your point line, whether it's a point or a line. So these are linear features. Your point features will be P. And if I move on down here, let's see, to where the P's start, you'll see it starts right along in here, the 25 miles an hour. So these are all the point features, and they can be downloaded into your data collectors so your crews can use these feature codes. The zones are many of the field survey software will have a place where you can enter a zone. Some will not, but others will. Most of them will have zones, and they will go from 1 to 9, where 1 being topo and 9 being right of way. But you also got 2, like this yard drain right here. We're going to see one of those existing. And then your water lines, like this water line B, we got one of those. That's in zone 3. So these are utilities. And there was one other feature I was going to make you aware of. Let me go ahead and start opening this while I'm at it. So we're going to start. Let me go ahead and do this. When you open up Open Roads Designer, if you haven't used the FDOT Connect before, you're going to be in this examples and configuration up here where there is no workspace. So if you open that, you'll just find the Bentley standard workspaces. Here we at FDOT Connect creates a custom configuration. Here it is right here. It's under FDOT Connect. If you had no workspace, it's going to look like this when you come up. So you just choose the FDOT. You do not work. Your work set is not the zero work set template. That is the template to create the work set. So it always defaults there, but don't use it. If you go straight to browse and start opening files or new files, you're going to corrupt this work set template, and it's going to cause you a problem every time you create a work set. So what you're going to do is you're going to go down here and you're going to create a work set, and I'm going to create one with 7 8s. I call it my Crazy 8 training data set. And you want to use here where it says template, that's where you use work set template. It needs to be nice and clean, never changed. And once you say okay, it's going to open that work set. And I'm going to show you real quick where that is. Let's see, if I look, I just created it right here. So here it creates folders. It's going to create all the way through, down through, let's see, like your roadway folder here. So it's going to be alignment file, your right of way. There's nothing in any of these. These are all this is a blank project. Right-of-way maps files would go here, and of course in the survey folder where we're going to be working, I'm going to create that work set, or the work set's there. I'm going to create the file and put it right here. Okay, so with that, the blank file has been used in this before, but what you do normally, you want to browse down and look through your work set, and it jumps straight to surveying. But in the root folder of your work set, you're going to find the blank file, and we're going to open that. We use that to create files, and I always create file with the create file tool. Never double click on a DGN. Always open up your FBO Connect icon to get into ORD. And whenever you open that file, it's going to show up in the folder. So it's going to take a second here while I'm doing this to open. One of the other things I was going to mention while I was here, let's see, do I still have it selected? Under linear, under F for FOT. Here we go, FOT. So one of our features, this is kind of an anomaly because at one time our feature for fiber optics was FOT, and so my data coming over is going to say FOT. Bentley, the existing feature is FO at this time, and for fiber optics, telephone, aerial, and Bentley uses what they call a best feature match. So ORD does a pretty good job of recognizing this, but at some point it may turn red. What happens is when you bring in data, and if you do not have a feature for that data, it'll come in red. So that may end up showing up. I just want you to know it is a viable feature, and it's going to be in zone 3 with all the rest of the utilities. Okay, so we've opened up our blank file. At this point, what I want is, normally we are up in the open roads modeling when you first start open roads, but we in survey, and it does have an FDOT Connect folder or tab right here, and then therefore you can get to the create file. In surveying, we like to use the survey workflow, okay, of all the workflows, and it also has an FDOT survey folder, so it's a little bit different, but it has the create file, and it also has all the tools that we need in survey to do what we're doing. One thing also, I'm going to close this for a moment. Well, let me just bring this out here, close it. This too, and so I want to show you how those things set up. This is your contextual display. It usually just sits out there. We're going to, and I use this frequently. This is the save settings, okay? So it's there. You also can go to the backstage and find save settings right here. It'll kind of bring you right back. So with the FDOT Connect or FDOT Survey tab, I'm going to hit the Create File and create a file. Now, as I mentioned with roadway, if you're creating an alignment file, you're going to need to go to roadway and roadway design files. We do create them in surveying frequently, and it'll be right here. It is, and it will get created in the roadway folder right here. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to go into survey and create survey. There's sheet files, which is control survey, but we want the design files, and it's going to show you all of these particular files right here. And these are legacy files, and what we're going to do is they are all subsets of the ServRD. So I'm going to go back to my PDF here just for a moment and mention that. So those we talked about the FDOT feature codes, the ServRD. This file should be used to develop all design survey products. So your GDTMRD, your drainage, your topo, your existing utilities, they are all subsets of the survey RD. And it's not recommended to develop these files separately from the ServRD. Usually they're not, but sometimes you'll see utilities, somebody trying to create a utility file, and they'll start with a UTRXRD, which is a 2D file, which again, that starts off with a problem right there. So what you want to do is you want to create the ServRD, and then if you want a UTEX file, you would create the UTEX file, reference the ServRD into it, use these standard files, filters that are in ORD to visualize the UTXRD I mean, yes, and then you would merge the master to get that data from the ServRD into the UTXRD. There's also additionally some level filters that have been added to enhance functionality. I'll show you that right at the very end. So I want to jump into this one, back into this one. So understanding ORD work sets and opening files. Since we're there, I did just show you how to create the file. We could put in a modifier. I'm just going to leave it off for right now. We also would pick the county, which will define the coordinate system, and it is crucial that you set a coordinate system. We do not want to set it to none. If you set it to none, you're not going to be able to reference. You're not going to be able to find your project on Bing Maps or any of the street maps that are built into ORD that you can use. Also, any geotiffs, you're going to have problems all around. So you definitely want a coordinate system set. When you hit the create open, which I just did, it's going to create that file, and then it's going to ask for O2 if you want to create that file too. It will open the file. It's doing it right now. It just did. If you look at the top, it's ServRD01 is there, and it says you want to create 02. I'm not going to do that. I'll go ahead and hit close at this point. So this is how you get into an ORD file, and you want to use this. This is a proper work set. As I mentioned before, and I'm going to pull this back up. Let's see. Let me close this one and get back to this one over here is actually put aside. I'm going to be going back and forth over here. Okay, so you can see the ServRD was created in the survey file right here automatically. And this is a proper work set. And I want to spend a little time on this because this is one of the things that has caused problems throughout ORD's history. And that's people working in proper work sets. We didn't really have this issue in the SS10 version, the SS version, earlier versions of MicroStation. We just opened our file up anywhere. That's not really a good idea to do anymore. You want to work in a proper work set because now I know it cleans up issues like crashes. A lot of consultants will be told by their company, you're going to work on a server because we don't want your copy to be local, so you could lose your work and you have to recreate it and all that kind of stuff. That's fine and dandy. Just be aware that working on a server, working with this file is not really what we think of as a proper work set. You can do it. It can cause problems, especially if it's a virtual server, a cloud-based server. Then you're looking at timing issues that causes crashes. If you run into this kind of stuff, I would strongly urge you to bring your file local, work on it in what we call a proper work set, and it'll minimize issues. Okay. Let's see, setting the project geographic coordinate system. So I want to mention just a short blurb about that. If I go in here to utilities and hit my coordinate system, you're going to see this geographic coordinate system come up. I'll select it right here. Now we are in 2011 feet, 83 2011 feet. That's zone, that's meter right there. Here we are. There we are. Up there's highlighted 2011 feet. If for some reason you looked at the survey report, the survey report said Harn 8390, which is Harn, like this, for instance. It's this one right here. So maybe you want to work in 8390, your survey report, and your processing was done in 8390. Then you would change this. You'd have to change it and say, okay, it's going to ask you if you're correcting the coordinate system. Do not reproject the data. The answer to that is yes. You are always correcting the data, the coordinate system. The coordinates that came from the surveyor, they're good. You don't change them for anything. That's what you want to use. You can correct the coordinate system, but if you go down here to reproject, just be aware it will change the value of the coordinates themselves. It will move them, and that's the last thing you want to happen. That only will happen if the project surveyor has a reason to move it to a different coordinate system, to a different datum, and then it's going to be transformed. And those transformations are not really great transformations. They'll go, you can transform there and back pretty nicely, but they are not real clean transformations. So if, without getting into a bunch of detail, if you were to process on a different datum and then transform this to that datum, you'll probably see differences. And depending on where you are, over on the east coast of Florida, we have so much surveying, it's really tight over there. But anywhere else, you could see a tenth, you could see more. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this. We're not going to go with the coordinate system here. We're not going to change that. So let me go back to my home tab. That is a word about. I want to pull in some data, and we want to. But first, right before I do that, I want to look at some settings and some users file settings here. Okay, so let's do that. One of the things is user file. So if I go to Backstage, and you got your save settings there too. And you hit settings, and I've got it up here to user. I want to go down to preferences, and these are just something you need to be aware of. Under view options, civil, I'm already there. I have my normal color and my selected color for my manipulators are here, and you'll see those when you select a civil model. You'll see the manipulators pop up. I usually keep mine somewhere around 1.5, 1.4, somewhere in there to make them big enough. They usually start out by default around 1.0, so you may want to make those a little bigger. And then let's see, if you move down here under survey decorators, something else I generally do is this name color under the decorations is usually blue for the name. It's hard to see the blue, so I've changed that to yellow. You just come over here and change it to whatever color you want. And again, move your scale up to something that's a little more readable than 1.0. Okay. Some things that you just need to know. All right. In this format right here, I generally open up my Explorer because I want it to be right here. You know, if it opens up off screen, you can dock it by just touching. Okay, and I'll slide that down some. We don't need it too big. And also, I generally open up my models and keep it there for other reasons, for various reasons. But you can switch back and forth down here at the bottom. You'll see you can go from your Explorer over to your models. I'll keep it on Explorer for now. And other toolboxes that you'll need are this properties dialog box. So when I'll select it, put it over here. That's the reason I disconnect them earlier. I want you to see. Also, this element, this heads up contextual display dialog box. Usually to keep it off the screen, I dock it also over here. So you just bring it up and drop it there. And then also my levels displays. This is something I'm going to use a lot of too. And so I'll just pull it up here. If you touch the top, if you go over here and put it, it's going to put it beside it. But if you go touch the top, it will put it right here with the others. You got properties and your element selection and your level display. So, and once I do that, I hit save settings, and I'm ready to actually bring in some data. Oh, one other thing, this default. I usually change this to baseline survey as my active level. Hit save settings on that, and there's a reason for that. When you are bringing models into ORD, let's say you're bringing in a land XML file and of alignment, for instance, and you have this set to default, sometimes on those civil models, linear civil models, and others too, ORD will create dependencies. And these dependencies are buried down inside the element, and these dependencies also require a level, and frequently, if this is set to default, that dependency will get set to default. So you'll have a default level embedded inside your model, your alignment, for instance, and it will fail QC. So you have to go in there and deal with it. So I generally put this baseline survey and just make that my active level and leave it there. That way, anything I create is going to pass survey QC within this ServRD file, or within it, or within the others also. Okay, so let's bring that data in. I'm going to go to my survey tab. The three tabs that we're going to be looking at here today, just let me mention those two. You got Open Road Standards. So if you will see your feature definitions. As they get populated, as your survey gets populated, your alignments, terrains, you will see them here. Okay. Under your Open Roads models, any civil models it created, you will see alignments here, terrain models here, any linear geometry down along here, or points will get put in here. Okay, and then your survey tab consists of your field books and all the data. Now, there's multiple ways you can do this. You can drag and drop your data, your field, directly into the field book, and it'll create it, or you can create a new field book and you can drag and drop into that one right there. Generally, what I do is, this is going to be my Crazy Eights work set, and so I'm going to just name it 7/8 right here. It will show you your event data files, your import events will go here, and then any points or chains will show up. The chains will show up under linear features. And again, you can right click and import the file, or you can drag and drop it. And let's see, I'm probably going to just drag and drop this. What I have here for this is a completely fabricated data set. It's a purely fabricated data set. And what I want to do is bring it in, and I'm going to start with creating this file and bringing in this data. And when I finish the webinar, I want to finish with a complete design survey that will pass QC. So that is the objective of what I'm going to try to attempt here. So I'm going to grab this file, come over here. It's from an old Casey database, and drag it in. It's because of that, it's going to ask me if I'm combine or separate segments. If you have segments, you definitely want to separate them. This data set doesn't have segments, so it doesn't matter either way. I'm going to hit accept and let it create that file. And you see what it did, it populated it right here. So you got all point features, all linear features, etc. in this file. One other thing I wanted to show you before we get started was under Open Road Standards, where I showed you the feature definitions. There also is a survey settings category down here at the bottom, right here. Okay, if I select that and look over here under my properties, you can see that under general and points is not that big a deal, but under linking codes, we had to put some, like this match start, for instance, and some of the other settings in here. They're pretty general, but they do work with the type of data sets we bring in. That data set could be like a DBX project. It could be like a land XML or XML from other software like Trimble or TopCon. We also can bring in, we do have a process for creating a land XML from ICA, from Leica based on styles, which are our features, that works really nicely too. Other than that, there's other ways of bringing in this files and bringing in data into the ORD. And some of the software, if you're out in the field and the crews are creating your chains with linking codes, they're not just creating a chain and then populating, and they're actually linking points together, then you can accommodate those in these data file parsing and with these linking codes. It's very particular to your vendor, so you're going to need to work that out probably with your vendor. It may not be that that complicated. and I've seen plenty that work fine. So anything like a raw file that's going to be processed with an ORD, also you're going to need to pay attention to the adjustments and what type of adjustment you're going to use in this least square. So you'll need to look at those settings and set them appropriately. Under terrain model, we have a create terrain model, all field books. What this does is this creates a terrain model on the fly. You don't want to do that. We want to create a terrain model specifically from field books, and actually more specifically from points and chains that should be in the terrain model. So we don't want to just create one on the fly as we go. We'll just end up having to delete that. The terrain feature definition, we'll say, I'm just going to leave that blank for now because I want to show you where I choose that later. And then there's an edge method. It can be remove slivers, or it can be maximum triangle length. And just a word on maximum triangle length, that number is based on the density of your survey. So if you have a grid that's 50 feet, like what I'm going to be showing you is around 50 feet, you don't want to go too low. You definitely don't want to go less than 50 feet. In fact, you need to go more, because the hypotenuse across that triangle that gets created in that grid is longer than 50 feet. So that's going to cause a problem. So I'm just going to leave this for 100 feet for the moment, show you how these affect the terrain model. But you can set these ahead of time. Okay. So going back to my survey data, let's just make sure I've got what I wanted here. We talked about the user settings. So we're going to review the survey data and visualize, and then do some edits. Okay. And so what I want to do is, if I zoom to extent, you're going to see here's the data. Some of you have seen this many times in some of my training sessions. But it's been a long time, and it's good that we do this and commit it to recording for posterity. And so what you have, your field book, I tell people you turn it on and off at the default. This is just what you want to do. Then you turn it off there. If you want to see point features, you'll look at them here. If you want to see chains, you're going to look at them. These are all points, all chains. And as I'm looking at this, I said I'm going to do some edits. I see some issues that are probably going to have to be fixed. But let's look on down here. I'm going to turn those off and go down and look at my filters. So down and around my filters, I've got a bridge filter, and you can see that it's bridge DTM point. So what causes it, qualifies this for a DTM point is its terrain model attribute. It's either set to a break line or to a spot shot. Something like that will get this into this filter. Okay. Also, these are zone 4 elements. Zone 1, 2, and 3 elements are generally on the ground. So if I turn this off and turn on ground, I'm going to see anything that is going to be in the DTM from the ground point of view. And like I said, I see a problem. I see multiple problems all along here right now, and I'll go ahead and address some of that. This is a tower. This is a transmission tower, and I know that it's not. We do not use elevations from a transmission tower in a ground terrain model. It's just not done. So normally this would be set to determine by feature definition, and it is not. It's actually set to spot shot. I could do it to feature definition. What that does, determined by feature definition, means that whatever the terrain model attribute is set in the feature itself that's embedded in your feature tables, in this case it would be do not include, then this by feature definition tells them to use that feature, use that attribute. Just to be sure, I like to just go ahead and say do not include. Okay, and also this is going to be in zone 3. It is a utility overhead electric tower. Okay, so we're going to put in 3 there. It's not going to immediately go away. This is one of those things where as you visualize, you're going to find out you can turn these off, turn them back on ground, then you'll see it gone. Okay, so So don't be surprised if it doesn't leave immediately. Some of the other things you're going to see here, let's look at some other filters. Is you got pavement, you can see that. There's pavement markings. We don't have any in this particular file, but we do have zones throughout the file. Zone 1, those are your topo points, okay? And you can see there's some things going on here. And if I look in here and try to do a little perusing, I see a single support sign and a railroad sign, but I see a guy anchor. A guy anchor is a utility, and it belongs in zone 3. Again, there's some more towers, transmission towers, and these are also zone 3 utilities. I see a fire hydrant right here, another zone 3 utility. Another guy anchor. Here's an antenna, also a satellite antenna. This would also be classified as a utility. Okay, the rest of this, the mailbox, the flagpole, signs, they look pretty good. I do see another fire hydrant down here. So we're going to need to address those. There's ways of doing that. Before I do that, I want to take a quick look at zone 1 chains. And so what I see here are some slopes, the top of slope, bottom of slope, and I see a problem right here. Unless we have a cliff, this top of slope is overlapping. Unless we got a cliff with an overhang, that's not going to be correct, and we don't usually see those in Florida. We have a retention wall. There's the building overhang for a building, okay, a deck, some stairs, fence, and we have some pavement, some curbing and pavement, the crown of the pavement, asphalt pavement, and then we got back of curve, face of curve, and then your flow line, your CG flow line. Same thing over on the other side, except we've got some things missing here. We got the asphalt pavement, but we only have the back of curve. Now, this is not an unusual situation. Many of our crews would locate the back of curve only because these for these type curves, they're standard distances. This is a ½ a foot over, another 2/10 to the curb line. This ½ a foot over to the face of curve is the same elevation. However, this CG flow line is another 2/10 over and a ½ a foot below this elevation. So we can use a linking codes in the chain in order to create those other 2 offset chains that we need. Something else I see in zone 1 is a water line, and that water line should not be in zone 1. I can fix that immediately. It should be in zone 3. Okay, so I've changed that. So as I turn these off and look at zone 2, we got some drainage. Let me go ahead and turn everything off so that'll clear that off, and then go back to zone 2 points, zone 2 drainage chains. See those? We've got some manholes. We have this yard drop inlet, okay? It's a yard drain, and the pipe culverts that connect them. If I look at zone 3, you're going to see utilities. The water line got moved over to here now. You wouldn't have seen it a minute ago. You see that one mast lighting, but you don't see the other points. They need to be edited to get them in the right zones. So I'll go back to zone 1 and do some of those edits right now. Let's see, here's a guy anchor. Let's see. So you saw me, I can select them and change them, but there's also another way you can do this, and it's a little more efficient, especially when you have a large data set, thousands of points, in fact. It's hard to look through these things like that. So if I go over here to all point features, and look at fire hydrant, for instance, I can select this fire hydrants. You know, I can visualize them. They're already visualized in the zone 1. But if I go up to this analyze up top in the survey, in the analyze tab under the survey workflow, I'll see this details. So as long as this selected and I hit details, I'm going to see these fire hydrants. Okay, this is a window directly into this to the survey field book database. I can select them both. I want to do that over here on this right side, nowhere else. I want them on the left side. And then I will right click over in this left side and say edit selected items. I can edit the field code, but in this case, I want to edit the zone, and I want to make them zone 3, hit the green check, and I just changed them to zone 3. So lots of them. There's that FO, and if you notice it's FOT here. I'm just going to go ahead and change that to while I'm at it. And right click, edit selected item, zone. No, they're already in zone 3. I need to edit the field code. Okay, so I need to change this to FO instead of FOT, select it, and it changed them all to FO. So that'll clean up that particular point feature. And then as I go down through the list and see, let's see, what else do I have? I have an antenna here. There's the antenna. And again, I can just select that. Let me do details just to show you. You can also just change that right here. You don't have to select it. I can change that to 3, and that'll change that. Antenna, what else do we have? We have guy anchors, GYA anchors. Let's see. Where are my guy anchors? Let's see. Point features. Yeah, let's see. A, B, C, D, G, Y, A are right here. If I hit details, it's going to show both of those. Again, I can select them both and right click. Edit selected items. In this case, it would be the zone, and make that zone 3 also. Select those. Close that out. So that should take care of, let's see, if there's anything else. I think I had them listed here. So I had the towers, the guy anchors, the antenna, the water line, the FOT. Looks like I've edited all of those in this file. So if I go up here, let's look at all these again.
So, but
note
it's smoother.
I do have somebody right at the moment who has not.
It looked pretty smooth. I mean, I'd say it was smooth.
I don't know.
There's no way to tell because
Mason, can you tell who it is?
Yeah. So.
No, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay. Well, I'm glad.
Please, all the attendees, please look at your microphone and make sure you're muted. Okay, so moving on, I did unvisualize these. Let me go down and look at them again. I'll go back to zone 1. Let's see, what do I see? I still see, oh, I didn't get these 2 guys. I can also do them multiples here directly in the properties dialog box, and those towers make them zone 3 also. Okay, so I thought I had them all. Let me get them all. Go back to zone 1, check those out. Now it looks like I'm pretty good. Zone 1 topo chains, looks like we're good there. The water line's gone. And zone, if I go to zone 3 and look at that, now I see all of those points in here at this point. So one of the things I want to do is I'm going to go to zone 1, change zone 3, turn these on, and these zone 3 chains on also. Oops, zone 4, there you go, zone 3. And I want to use a tool right here while I'm looking at it and thinking about it. Generally, if I go up to, generally the designers like to see their cells rotated in the direction they want to see them rotated. I know that's a little difficult, but I'll explain right here. For instance, single support signs. They want it, that flat surface facing in the direction of oncoming traffic. So if I go up to edit and hit my rotate, and I go over here to this, show my tool over here, I'm going to rotate it by 2 points. I'll select it there. You see what I'm going to do? I'm just going to rotate this thing, make it about 90 degrees to the road. Same thing, rotate this one about 90 degrees, so it's facing there. There's another one here. We rotate it. It's going to be facing the oncoming traffic going west and north, so I'll select that. And then the other thing they like to see rotated are these guy anchors. They want to see them pointed at the pole that they are anchoring. So in this case, it would be this pole up here. And in this case, it would be this pole over here. So I'll kind of slightly move it just a little bit, somewhere along there. That's pretty close. Well, anyway, that takes care of the rotations on this. I think I've edited most of these now, which means I want to move on. And you see, I have we've done our peruse through. I think I've caught about everything feature zone and at least zone wise. And so from there, I'm going to let's go on that. Well, I want to talk about terrain models. So from there, I'm going to create my first terrain model. So this is something that's important. It's important. Previously, let me go back just for a second to this file. If you go and you look under your survey file, you look to the default, you right click, it says deactivate survey processing rules. So previously in ORD, what you had was a situation where you had to deactivate the survey rules in order to edit your triangles. But it was a catch-22 situation, because as soon as you finished editing your triangles, you could not reactivate your survey rules without deleting those edits. It would actually go reverse those edits. they would all be gone. So how would you build another terrain model? Say you were doing intersections, you did one intersection here, and down the street you need to do another intersection. Well, what we would have to do is we would have to export that terrain model that was complete to a 10 or a land XML, and then delete the original terrain model that was survey generated, and then bring back that exported version as an import as a standalone terrain model. That would be the only way you could reactivate your survey processing rules and not change your edits, excuse me, to your triangles and those any other of those terrain model edits. So what Bentley has done over the last couple of versions is they had changed the software, the way the software works. It's no longer necessary to deactivate survey processing to edit a model. You may edit when processing is active or inactive. You can edit. The edits will hold even when turning on and off processing, at least theoretically. I have seen that not work before, but then on the other hand, it may depend on the version, and also may depend on some programming that's going on, some new or old programming. May now delete interior triangles to create holes. That was something else you couldn't do. You could only delete edge triangles. In order to create a hole, you had to put a closed shape out there and turn it into a hole and triangulate around it. So now you can just delete those triangles. Must have processing on to create a new terrain model. So it's still the same as before. You have to turn those the processing back on in order to create a new terrain model. Since that's no longer necessary, my advice is just to don't deactivate the survey processing. Just leave it active at all times, unless you have a good reason to deactivate it. And there are a few, but you won't see them in this particular one. This new functionality eliminates the need to create standalone terrain models for separate areas. Okay. So that is an important point. So I want to go in here and I'm going to create a temporary ground terrain model, and we're going to take a look at it. Okay, so that's one of the first things I'm going to do. So I will turn off everything at my default, go down here to my bridge and ground. I'm going to start off with the ground DTM, show it. It looks pretty good. I know there's some problems, there's some crossing chains, but we're going to look at those quickly. So one of the things you do, in order to create this terrain model, I'm going to select everything that is in this ground filter, okay? And then I'm going to go up to the word field book, and if I right click on it, hold it, it has create terrain model from field book selection set. There's only one problem. All my selection set just disappeared. So let's select it again. I'm going to go up to the field book, and I'm going to hold the control button down. You have to do this. This is the trick. This is the hack. Right click, holding the control button down will not delete your selection set. So I'm going to create the terrain model, and here it is. Okay, so we got some things going on with this terrain model. One of the first things I would do here, well, is to check for crossing break lines. So I'm going to go into this properties right here of this terrain model. I just selected the terrain model. Go down here. I'm going to turn off triangles. So we'll look just to be able to show you a little bit better. Go up to terrain. Go to my reporting. Report crossing features. It's going to say select the terrain model you want to check, and I'm going to check this one. It wants to know if you want to apply an elevation tolerance. It also puts it here in case you want to know. And I'm going to say yes, and how far it's going to ask me. Generally, I put around 100th, because if it's less than 100th, it's probably not a crossing chain. It's probably a chain that needed to connect to each other. That's something you have to look at on a case-by-case basis, but I'm going to select it, and it's going to show me crossing chains, and it's going to go down here and put little circles there. If I select that one, it's going to show me which one by highlighting it. Here's the other one, and then of course the third one is here. Now there is some functionality here. I'm not going to use that right now. I don't get into that time, using that amount of time. You can zoom, you can right click and zoom, you can do reports, you can put them all in the view, etc. So what I'm going to do here is, I know I've got some crossing chain issues here. So let's go ahead and just fix them right now. So I'm going to select this chain right here and look at it. We know it's crossing down here. One of the things I'd like to do is go up to analyze, turn on my names. Remember, I changed them from blue to yellow, so they're a lot easier to see now. SLP A5 is going down to SLP B6. It really should go to A6. They're numbered sequentially, so it should go from to here and to here, but it does not. It's down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit that. I'm going to manage the point list, and I'm going to edit the chain by pulling this up. It shows where it starts. See how it kind of puts a little arrow at the beginning of any chain, so you'll know the direction it's going. And then as you go down through these points, you'll see the little blue point indicator of where you are. That's also under those civil settings. You can change colors and size, etc. And we know we're down here at SLP A5. We want to go to SLP A6, not B6. So I can just go in here and change this to an A, select it, tab through that, and it's going to give me the proposed change. So I want to go to A6. Is that okay? Yes, but let's do A7 also. We don't want to go down there to B7. So we want to do that. Again, as I hit the tab and select through there, it shows a proposed change. If I just hit accept, it's going to change it. Same thing with this particular chain. It needs to go to B6 and B7. So B5, B6, B7. So again, I'm going to go manage point list. I look down here, B5, I want B6 and B7. There's another way you can do it. You can just select this little icon right here and then choose the point. So I can choose B6, left click, it's going to move it. I can select this icon here, select B7, left click, change it, and accept. And so I've fixed that crossing chain there. We do have some issues going on here, and so we're going to need to take a little look at that. I'm going to turn off the names and turn on the elevations. Remember, these decorations, these are point decorations, are actually in the program. So these are not text that you would generate for any reason other than what we're doing, and that's just a look on the screen. Back in the SS versions, we had 3 levels that we used, and then we also didn't use those levels but for anything but point decorations. So now we don't even really need those levels anymore. So if I look at this chain right here, let's just look at what we got going here. We got some 140 foot, 130 foot points out here, but along this chain, these chains are around the 100, and there's a 133.9, so 134, there's a 130.5. So as the crew collects the top of the slope, they're not going to know exact elevations, but they can tell about where the top is. That's why they build a break line. 131 here, down into 132 here. Conversely, the TOA slope, we were down in the 120s range, 121, 120, 121 here, 131.5 for that point, but we shouldn't be going through there, then back to a 121.5. We're not actually touching it, we're just going under it. There is, though, if you look over here, there's a 120.4. So what appears to happen here, and that's exactly what is happening, is we're missing a point that should be in this chain. So if I select this chain and I go back to my manage point list again, as I go down through it, you'll see the selector go down. There's down to 99, B99, SLP B99. The next point is down here. We don't want that point. It's SLP B8. We want to put them in between that point. So we want to put this point in between. So let me go back up to SLP B99. Insert. It's going to say, what do you want to insert? Choose it. I'm going to choose this one right here. Left click. You see, it gives you a proposed change of that that break line, and I'm going to say accept. And so we just changed it, put it to a much more reasonable point, and now we no longer have crossing break lines. If I run my report, choose my level, choose my terrain model, say yes, tolerance, yes, no crossing break lines. Okay, that's a good thing. So let me go back up to analyze and turn my elevations off. So there's a few other things going on in this file we're going to need to address. Going back to these though for a moment, let's look at these. So I'm going to go over to the properties, and what it is, it's a break line. However, and this has been true as long as I can remember, for as long as I've been surveying, so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go back to when we were using software to do that, and that's the late 80s. I was doing this. And ground break lines are soft break lines. Okay, they're not hard break lines. Any kind of pavement break line is going to be a hard break line. Now, we used to call them hard break lines and soft break lines. Now it's just break lines and soft break lines. So I'm going to change this to a soft break line. Okay, the difference is, same thing over here. The difference is on hard break lines, when you see a contour come up, it's just coming along and it hits the pavement, it's going to turn sharply. Okay. When a soft break line comes up and hits, or a contour comes up and hits a soft break line, like this one, for instance, it comes up, the contour is going to round. It's going to go around. It's going to have a curve in it, or a little bit of roundness going in it. So it's not going to be a hard turn across pavement, which is more realistic as contours go. Okay. So we've changed those. There's a few other things going on in here. I'll go ahead and address those while we're at it. If we look at, let me turn those triangles back on just for a moment. Let's select this and go to properties, turn the triangles on. You're going to see a couple of other things happening down here. You'll see this yard drain's got a triangle through it. It should not. We do not have triangles represent elevation changes. Okay, so there's no elevation change. Here's the inside the building. We don't need a triangle inside that. Also, we can also control those with break lines. So if I select this and go to break line, instead of being a break line, we're going to make it a void. Okay, voids and break voids are almost the same. They're just a little bit different in the way that it'll contour around it. But In this case, I'll make this one a break void. That was first one was a void. We'll make this one a break void here. I generally make my buildings break voids. Okay, so that will keep it from triangulating around it. Got some other issues going on that need to be addressed. I'm going to select this point and move this. If you've ever seen this data set before, what happens is, and this is also, it's an indictment of the way Bentley built their algorithms to build triangles, and it also is a credit to them. So the thing about it is the software, the algorithm can't know every situation. So it's trying to do the best it can, but I can assure you, I have never seen a terrain model that didn't need editing of some kind. Unfortunately, we see too many that are not edited. They just get everything right, and then they select the points, they generate the triangles, and they pass it on to design. That's not really a good thing, because we've got some nasty things going on here that need to be corrected. So we've got a slope here moving up, like I said, going up to the top of this triangle, going up top of this retaining wall. We also have, you can see there's some flat areas right in here. As I move this thing, we have no evidence from our points that were collected that there's any kind of flat area. It's just the way Bentley triangulated it. Okay, a couple of flat areas. There's another one over here too. You can see it right at the top of the screen. As you rotate it, you can see there's a little ledge there. Again, no evidence of any kind that we have that kind of terrain going on out there. Okay. Few other things going on that you need to be aware of. Let's see. Let me do the top view here. And you'll see triangles going past the end of the edge of pavement. So we just got, this is the end of our data right here. There's no reason to have triangles here. We know that the road continues, so we know that there should not be any kind of edge triangles along here. This should go from back a curve to back a curve and then move on to your next point. So we don't have any triangles here. The way we address that, there's multiple ways we address this kind of thing. Is that we like to, we have to go into our edge. So I'm going to select the terrain model, look at the properties, and we're going to look at maximum triangle length. So one of the things you can do, this is a 50-foot grid, so I can move this down to maybe 60 feet, and that's going to knock off some of these triangles, not all of them. I can go down to 50 feet, and you're going to have a real problem. Okay, so knocked off way too many triangles. We're not going to be able to go 50 feet. Maybe around 55 feet, we can, probably about as many triangles we're going to knock off. We can also use this sliver setting, and that's going to knock off some of the triangles too, but it didn't get rid of all of them, so it's not perfect. The algorithm does that. So generally, I'd like to use my maximum triangle length around these kind of situations. You see it did knock off most of them around here, but we're going to need to edit these triangles. Now I'm not going to edit them yet because I've got a few other things to do to this file. One of the things is, how am I going to fix this slope situation? So let me turn those triangles off and show you. If you zoom down in here, we've got some points at the base of this retaining wall that it should triangulate to, but it gets lost. It can have a problem. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to create a chain along the base of this wall so it can triangulate to that chain, as opposed to trying to jump up to the between points and the top of the wall, that kind of thing. Okay, so how I do that is if I go up to my fill books, and I go to my linear feature right here, I right click on it, I can say new to create a new chain. Okay, so I'm going to create a new chain. Here it is. It says populate the chain with points. Well, I can do like I did before. I can select this point right here, left click, it'll put it in there. Just keep selecting points, left click, put them in there. Shows the direction of the chain that's starting, left click, put it in there. Okay, here's another point. Select here, get another point up here, select that one. Got a couple more to go. Let's get this one. And got to select that first, hit that one. Okay, and that completes my chain. So I have a chain now going along the, or linear feature as they call them here in ORD, along the base of this retaining wall. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to need to do a little more to it though. Let me select this chain right here and give it a feature definition, or a field code in this case. And that would be the same as the rest of the retaining wall, which is RETW. It is zone 1. I do want to make this a break line, a hard break line. And let's see what else. That should do it. Now you see it disappeared. That's because I don't have everything visualized. If I come back and just turn everything on like I just did, you're going to see that chain and it selects it right there. Okay. One of the other things that you may note, let me see if it did this. If I select my terrain model and look at it, turn on my triangles. Okay, the question is did it properly get rid of that slope? Okay, it didn't. You see, not yet. One of the things I can do is I can go up to, so I can remember where this is, under terrain, add feature. I'm going to locate terrain model to add elements. So I'm going to locate this terrain model. There it is. Now locate element to add. Select this one. Reset when done. I resetted. It's going to be a break line. You see what happened? It just moved that triangle down to that break line. Okay, so just a note, there are tools that you need to know and use while you're doing this. Now, in this case, I'm not going to keep this terrain model. I'm going to delete it and recreate it. But there's a few other things I want to look at first. So that took care of that. We know we've got taken care of this. One other thing, hopefully I don't crash doing this. It might be a good idea if I go ahead and shut down. Let me do one other thing is that probably will not cause a crash. So I'm going to turn this on, select it. I may be pushing my luck, but properties, I'll turn off the triangles. And I want to look, what I need to do is I also have to add these into this terrain model, okay? So I need a face a curve and a back curve. So one of the ways we do that and we offset a chain is we select that chain, we go down to, this time we're going to edit points. So these are the points that make up that chain in the direction it's going, 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to start at the very first point to get it to go throughout the chain. And I'm going to create a control code. This is how you do an offset. You use a control code over here, right over here. I'm going to add a control code. There are different types, but in this case, I want to add some new feature codes. So I'm going to use new template. Stretch this out a little bit. Any of those offset feature codes need to be offset from that original chain. So you put in the field code, and then you put whether it's going to be left would be negative in feet, right would be positive feet, and you also must give it an elevation. So if it would be a change in elevation, so if it would be 0 if there's no change. If there is a negative change, then if it's lower in elevation, then it would be negative. If it's higher in elevation, it would be positive. So what I'm going to do here is I want to go ahead and put in that CGF, face of curb. It's going to be to the right, so 0.5 feet. and it's going to be the exact same elevation. Okay, that will take care of the face of curve. I want to put in the flow line. It's going to be CG. It's going to be another 2/10 over or 7/10 away from that original chain. So I'm going to go 0.7 feet, and it is a ½ a foot lower than the face of curves. I'm going to put negative 0.5, and you can always hit this little pencil there to write it in, hit accept, and you see it created those two chains. And it created them where and how we needed them. Now, there is a couple things it's going to say determined by feature definition. I'm going to change that to break line. I want to make sure it's a hard break line. Again, same thing with this flow line feature definition. We'll change that to a break line. Okay, and done with that. So that takes care of my curving issues right there and how it's going to triangulate along it. I think that's pretty much it. There might, before I actually start editing triangles, and before I do that, I want to shut ORD down and open it back up, because this is where the crashes will happen. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to save settings and close ORD, and then just go ahead and open it right back up. Oops, what did I do there? CAD support communities. Somehow that got down here to the bottom, or it got here. And it's probably, I did it by type. That's what I did. So while that's opening up, I'm going to go back to my objectives. I'm in the survey RD. I'm using the survey tools. I created a temporary ground model. What I want to do is, I did show some problem areas. I did the crossing break lines. I went ahead and edited the slopes and the buildings. I created chains for the curbs and the wall. And the only thing I haven't shown you is the exaggerate. I do want to show you that. So as this comes up, let's open up this survey RD, serve RD again. And the exaggeration tool is a nice little tool. What it does is it builds it creates a model, not the model you're working in. It creates a new model, and it exaggerates that model. So it doesn't actually touch the data that you're working with. It creates a new one. Very slick little tool, and you can use it to find problem areas. This come up. And I'm going to turn on my triangles. And just for, let's see, I want to go down here. I don't want to have everything on like I've got it at the moment. I think I'll turn it off, go back down to my filters, and put my ground stuff on. This is what was used to create it. So I think it's pretty good. So if I hold the alternate and hit F3, and if you're on a laptop, you're going to have to hold the function key down first at the same time as the alternate. Hit F3, it's going to create a model. It said, note, visual inspection aid only, elevation values will be shifted. And so they are. And if I go over here and select down here and select my models, you can see a 3D temporary visualization model has been created, and this visualization model is up here too. So I can exaggerate this terrain and look for problems. And so what I'll do first is I'll just rotate it around here. I want to rotate it around pretty good. Bring it down here. I'm going to exaggerate it. I'll put a 5. That's probably way too much. Maybe like a 4. 3, 2, 1. You can do them, and you can compound your exaggerations. Hit exaggerate, select a point to exaggerate about, so to keep this particular point elevation the same, while all the others will change. Okay, so you see what's happened here. It exaggerated the model. You can see that I still have those flat spots right here I'm going to have to deal with, all the edge triangles. But the good thing about exaggeration, you can also see any holes or problem areas. And I see something immediately. Look over here. I've got a spike that is shooting down below my terrain model. It's the only thing I really see that's a problem. And if I look down here at it, I can see that there is a point that is being used. I know from before that this is, let's see, if I put, let me go back to my Explorer right here, survey, and if I go down, oh, this is, I can't do that here. I am in the exaggeration model. So what I need to do is I need to edit, I need to do a little edit around this point. Okay, so I'm gonna remove the exaggerations. You don't have to, just to be aware, once I close this box right here, this temporary, you see that the model disappeared. Okay, so now I'm back in the real file. Okay, and I know there's a problem right here. It's causing a hole. I can see it. And so I'm going to select this point right here, which is actually attached to, let me show you what it's attached to. Let me go back to my Explorer, and I'll just go down to my filters. I'll go to my zone filters, and I believe it's a zone 3. It's either a utility point or utility, yes, a utility chain. In this case, it's a buried fiber optic line. So this point should not be in the file. I've got it selected over here. If I look at it, it says spot. I'm going to change that to do not include, and you see what happened. The triangle disappeared. Okay, so now it took care of the issues right there for that triangle. So as far as I know, I've got most of them, or if not all of my features and my points taken care of. That is one of the crucial things you do when you create your terrain model. So now that they're all created, I'm going to delete this thing. Okay, how about that? Let's recreate it. I want to make just my ground points, no zone field. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to recreate it. Hold my control button down, right click, say create terrain model from selection set. And I'm going to select it, and let's do a little more to this one. Let's give it a feature definition. And I hit terrain, existing, DTM existing, right here. And it says surface selection. Let's give it a proper name. Let's call it existing ground. Okay. All right. So now I have a feature definition, and all these triangles are, they should disappear. They did. Once I moved the zoomer a little bit. So did, and the reason they did is because most of our element templates for our terrain models has the triangles off. One of the issues is, let me turn them on, and I'm going to go ahead and do an edit and show you what I'm talking about. One of the issues is if you don't turn the triangles on at element template, they go off every time you execute a command. So for in this case, I'm going to change this to maximum triangle length of 55 feet. Probably about as good as it's going to get around here. And now I'm going to show you some tools. Let me unselect this thing right here. Okay, and as soon as I did, they turned off. So to keep that from happening, I'm going to go home, and I'm going to go up here to my element templates dialog where I drop down. Here is the manage element templates dialog box. Go to my file, look down under terrain models, find my existing, turn my triangles on. That will keep them on no matter what I do, no matter how I manipulate them. Okay. Again, if you want them off, you'll have to come back to this. You can turn them off, but they'll come back on if you don't look out. So you have to come back to the element template in order to turn them back off. Okay. So I am ready to do some editing. Let's see, make sure is there anything else I wanted to do in here. I'm going to get in here and edit these lines. Let's see, edit triangles, slopes, terrain, contours, and show contours, etc. Okay, so let's hit these edges. If I look under terrain, I have tools, edit model right here. Now, I used to have to turn off deactivate my survey processing up here to even see these tools. But now you can use them. They are delete a vertex, you can delete triangles, you can swap lines, you can insert a vertex, you can move a vertex, you can delete triangles by line, and you can delete the feature, and you can also delete edits, which is a new functionality they put in here. So I'm only going to use a few of these, but at least I can show you. Here's a terrain delete triangle. So I'm going to go up here, and you see it highlights it, and as I go through these, it's deleting them. I thought it was deleting them. Let's see. Yes, okay. For some reason, I probably need to shut this thing down again. It's not refreshing good. Okay. Moving on over here, I have, again, I've got data here, but I don't have any reason to believe that there should be a length triangle. It's just that it reached that 55 length, and it triangulated. So again, edit model, delete triangles. There it's gone. This one's gone. Oops, I went too far. Put that one back. And then there's other edits you can use. I want to go over here and see if this visualizes here. This is delete triangle by line. So if I just select a line, if I select it, go out here and hit, well, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to have to close this thing. It's not wanting to do right. Okay, so this will be a good time. Go ahead and close it. Open it back up. When you see those kind of things happen in your tools, you know there's I'm taxing the memory. Okay, even though we have a lot of memory in our computers now, it just depends on how it gets allocated. Also note, if you have Word open, that's a memory hog now. It used to be Word was no big deal. Any of your Office products, your Outlook, those are all memory hogs. Anything you can shut down will be helpful. Okay, so let me open this back up. Give it just a second while that's coming up. Let's see, I want to edit my slopes and my drain, and I want to show those contours. So when this thing comes up, we'll do that. Okay, pull this up here. So make sure I save settings. Let me finish edit. So one of the things, I was over here on the side. Let's see if this works now. Terrain, and I'm going to edit model, and I want to edit by line. And is it going to do it? Yeah, there you go. And it will delete anything I cross with this line. Okay. Same thing here. If I cross this line, it'll delete these, all of them at once. So that's a nice feature. Looks like, so I've got all my edges edited, looks good. Like to hit save settings a lot. It's and it doesn't really, the file automatically saves, so that's really not doing a lot. But one of the things we saw, there's a flat area in here. Okay, we have no reason to believe that we need any flat areas. So I'm going to go over here and swap some lines. Okay, and you see how this is really easy to do. As you get close to them, it's going to do them. This should be a smooth, continuous slope. And one more there. There's a few others. Oh, there was that one over here on the side, wasn't there? Let's see, where was that? Right up here. There, took care of that. There's a couple other places. Here's a spot down here. Again, no reason to believe there should be a flat area down here. This, as far as we know in our data, it just slopes right down to the curb and gutter. Okay, that takes care of those. Some stuff going around this drain. I could do some of these, but we do want it sloping down to the drain. I don't want to do too much. I think that's about it. I could do one of these, for instance. Might make it a little nicer. I'll leave it at that, okay? So now we have a much better looking terrain model. I mean, look at the difference. You can see how much smoother those slopes are. One of the things you will know when you're creating your terrain models, this will happen throughout your project just on a much smaller scale. Be aware, pay attention, look at these, and look and see where you need to swap lines in order to create a nice smooth terrain model, okay? Let me do this. I'm gonna go back to the top view. So one of the things I wanted to tell you, show you, was that we can export these terrain models to standalones. And I want to do that. I don't necessarily need to do it, but I'm going to do that here. If I select it and hover, I can export right here to a Geopack 10. A Geopack 10, because a 10 is a Bentley native format. It was native to Geopack, but it's also native to ORD when it comes to the 10. So all the attributes that you use, to the points and the break lines that you use to build your terrain model, are embedded in this 10. I'm going to save it right here under the survey folder, say save, and that is done. And then I can go in here and select this and let's just delete the entire terrain model. Okay. And I can bring this back in at any time. So the other thing I was going to show you, let's see, where are we? We want to create the bridge terrain model too. So I will go into my survey tab. I'll turn everything off again. Go to my filters, hit my bridge DTM. This is a 3D object. If you look at it and zoom in here, you can see that the chains that were created to create this bridge structure. Okay, so top view, I'm going to create a terrain model out of it by selecting it. Go up to my fill book. Got to hold the control button down, select it, hold the control button down, right click on the fill book, create from selection set, and I've created my selection set. I'll go ahead and give this a, select it and give this a feature definition. And it's going to be a terrain existing, but it's not existing. This is an own structure right here. So I'm going to click to own structure. And again, the terrain, the triangles in the element template are set to off by default. And so that's the reason they immediately go off. I'll turn them back on here. Go up to triangles, turn them on. And you see for a structure, they're yellow. The triangles are yellow. So the boundary's green, but the triangles are yellow. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm going to rotate the view, select it, look at it a little closer. And you can see it did pretty good. There's a walkway along this bridge, okay? But there's some things going on here on this walkway. If you look at it, you see there's a little wall here. There's a wall that's actually going across. If I go in here and hit, let me do illustration with shadows, for instance. Select, close this. You can see that when I rotate it, you can see the walls. You can see it's like a little pan, you know, it'll hold water. The car coming across this bridge is going to have quite a bump right here. Again, walking across this bridge, you're going to run into a little wall right there. Also, the same thing at the other end. If you look over here, it also has a little wall where we can try to fix that by selecting the terrain model, of course. Let me select one of these and go into maximum edge length and try going down to 50. That might change something. That really didn't do much. Let me go back to the other end. See if you can see these a little bit. Okay, and we go back to my wireframe. We'll see it a little bit better. And turn my triangles back on so we can see them, because the element template turned them off. So 50 didn't really help a lot. Let's see if I go down to 30. Didn't do much either there. Eventually, you're going to get down to where it's just not going to do anything. So this is where you can jump over here and hit sliver. And look what it did. It did a really nice job. I turn the triangles back on. Did a really nice job of going down just the edge right here. So you can see there's no more pan. It's not going to hold water anymore. Rotate around, it looks good, and at the other end, it looks good too. So now we have a viable terrain model here for our bridge. I'll put it up to top view, select it right here, and I'm going to export it also. So select it, hover, do the drop down. This time I'm going to do a land XML, okay? Land XML header wants a little more information than a 10 does. It's going to want a project name. There's training, project description. I put it in design survey. We want to export both. Now, the 10 normally does that by automatically. You don't have to do that here, but we want to export both. And what that means is triangles and the features and points, the chains and points that were used to create that terrain model. So I'm exporting both. I'm going to save it as a surface selection. Actually, what I need to do is I'm going to change that, make it bridge, and save it there. Also, I should go ahead and rename it here. I did give it a feature definition, but I didn't change the name. So let's go ahead and officially change the name of this terrain model to bridge. DGE. Okay. And let's select it, hover, and delete it. Okay. So what we have now here is we have most of our objectives completed. We have a 10 sitting in the folder. We have a land XML sitting in the folder, ready to come back into the file as terrain models. So we want to visually look at this. One of the things I want to do was show contours and smoothing and note the building void. So I probably should have done that ahead of time, but let me go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to turn, I don't need to turn everything back on, but I will for the time being. I'm in the terrain, so I'm going to create the terrain model from file. Let's do the existing ground first, select it. The projection's already set, so I don't have to worry about the coordinate system down here. I do want to make sure that I'm using the right feature code, DT system, and I want to import terrain only, okay? So, and I'll say import, and we have the terrain model. I'm going to go up to home, change this element template where the terrain model existing is the triangles are off by default, which is what design is going to want to see. Okay. So along with this, I can show triangles at any time, but I can also, and I'm going to show properties here, I can also show contours. So here's your major minor contours. Now with this feature definition, these contour intervals are set, the colors, the annotation, all that. You see they're very sharp. You do notice this one major contour is coming right through, it's stopping at my building and it's picking up the other side and heading on at 105. Okay, that's exactly what we want to see. But these are very sharp. So what I'm going to do is change that by going up to my calculated features. I'll show you some of these in a minute, but let me show you this contours. So the smoothing is none. So I want to change it to spline. The vertex is a little sharper than spline, and spline without overlap detection. We don't need that. So we're gonna change it spline. You see how it smoothed them out very nicely. Okay. You can change the smoothing factor as you go, and you can see them changing slightly, but up to 10. In our case, it really didn't do much, you know, whether you put them at 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so those are your contours and how they work within your file. So let me select this, go to properties. I'm going to turn the contours back off and turn the triangles. Do I need to turn the triangles on? Let's see, was there anything else I'm going to do? I showed building void, I showed the building void and the drop inlet void. So now I want to look at some tools. The analyze cross-section point from the terrain model. So once I have this terrain model, I want to use a tool, is analyze point tool. And it is under the home tab. It's kind of funny, it's not under the analyze or terrain tab, it's under the home tab because design uses this too. It didn't just work off terrain models, it works off of any element that you want to pull. So if I go over here and look at it, here's the analyze point. It's already set to that by default. And I can, if I go down, I want to look at these cross-section points, okay, right here. Of course, it will not let me select cross-section point. It will let me select the analyze point, any point based on this particular cross-section chain, but I don't need that. I want to look at it compared to the terrain model, okay? So now, as I analyze a point, I can look at any point. I can look at this one right here, and it's going to give me a coordinate, an elevation of 104.12, and then down in the yellow, you can see that the terrain elevation is 103.95. So there's a more than a 1/10 difference, but that's not surprising because our monuments are usually dug and put under or covered up underground, and this one could have been dug up and a little hole there. So the top of the monument is less than the terrain model, which would make sense. Again, if I look at my cross-section point, we've got something similar going on here. If I get here, 103.73. And the elevation at terrain model is 103.7. So there is a 31/100ths difference right there. And so this is a nice little tool to check in anything against your terrain model. Okay. Also, as you use this tool, be aware, I go over to analyze point, show. I can also display a contour through any point. So it'll tell me what it is, what that contour looks beyond that point. Of course, you can display triangle, what triangle that point is in. Okay. let you know if there's a problem there. And you can even place text. And if I left click, it would put this in the file. I don't want to. If I don't left click, or if I left click while it's on clipboard, it will put that same text into your clipboard. You can copy it to a Word file or a text file, whatever. So you can have that to look at and do some comparisons. So what I want to do here is I want to do a couple of things to look at these points and analyze them. And so I'm going to go up to my drawing production and use my civil labeler. And I want to place a label on this point. And so I'll go down to survey and I'll use this invert elevation because that will actually give me an elevation of that point. And I want it, it's going to hit place. I'll select the point, select where it's going to come out of. And I've got, as you see, as it said in that analyze point, the elevation of the point itself is 103.70, okay? And so I'm going to close that and show you another tool over under terrain, and it's this one, label terrain spots. Okay, so I'm going to need to see the edge of the terrain through that, so I'm going to label that. It's going to say up here, a style, I'll just choose my FDOT small, and dynamic label should do the trick. It wants me to identify, if you look down here, it's identify terrain model. So it's wanting me to select terrain model. I did. Now I can label any point, but the terrain model elevation at that point. Now we have seen before, we've got service calls where, this terrain model is just messed up at this point, at this manhole. It's not working right. What was happening was the user was essentially showing this elevation, the point elevation, not the terrain. They were grabbing a point that was below, that wasn't even a legitimate elevation point. And so realize that there is a fundamental difference between the elevation at the terrain model at that point and the point itself. So I can go down here, select this one, for instance, and it's telling me that the elevation of the terrain model here is 103.73. Okay. There's other ways of looking at this. There's other tools. There's the analyze elevation tool. Let's look at that one, for instance. So if I go to terrain and go under, where is it? It's under points, analyze elevation right here. So I could select this point. You want to select terrain. It makes you select terrain first. And then what is this point? I'm going to select this point right here. Let's select a couple of points. We're going to do one here on the pavement. How about this point right here? We'll select these 2 points. I'll reset to complete. It's going to ask me if I want, what is my tolerance value? So here in DOT, generally, if we're on pavement, we want to know if it's within 500s. Okay, if it's within 500s, we're not going to worry too much about a terrain model. We think we got a good one. Out in the dirt, it may be more than that. It may be a tenth. I'm not sure what all the districts do. It may be a couple of tenths. But the point being is we're going to put a tolerance there. Whatever we want it to be, I'll put it 500s. I left click and it's going to create a report. A cross-section report. It's got my coordinate. It's got my 103.7 for my point and 103.73 for my terrain elevation at that point. The difference is 3100ths, and it is within tolerance. Same thing over here, 104.33 for this other point, 104.4 for the terrain elevation. It's only 100th difference. It's within tolerance. So an easy way to check your elevations. I'm going to delete these just because I don't want them causing an issue later. Let's see. So let me show you another quicker way, or a way to check those, analyze those elevations in bulk. So I'm going to go to my field book, and I'll go to all my all points features. Zoom down here to my cross sections. Go up to analyze, hit that details to get into my database, and there's all the cross-section points. Well, guess what we can do? We can select them all, right-click. Now, instead of editing them, I'm going to create a selection set, and now they're selected. You know, I can close this. It will not cause a problem there. And now go up to my terrain and hit my Analyze Elevation tool. It says select the terrain. And it's, of course, it's off at the moment. Let me fix that. Let's see. What did I do with my terrain model? Did I accidentally delete it? I did delete my terrain model. When I was messing around, when I deleted those 2 points, I deleted my terrain model. Let me undo it. Okay, there it is. Sorry, that was my bad. I should have just deleted them like this. There you go. Okay. So I still have my, no, I don't have my selection set anymore. I'll go back to my survey tab, field books, all points, cross sections, show my details, select all my cross section points, right click, selection, create selection set, and you get to see it twice. Okay, terrain, analyze elevation, select the terrain. So there's my terrain. Data point to use the selected elements that are already there. I will data point. It wants to know my tolerance. I'm gonna keep it at 500ths. It's going to show a report of all those points that I selected. Okay, so 103.7, 103.73. This is the one we looked at within. Here's one that's actually outside of tolerance. The elevation is 106, but it's 106.68. So we're talking about almost a tenth, 9/100ths of a foot. If that is on the ground, X2, and I believe it is, that would not cause me concern. Okay, the rest of these are within tolerance, 10, 11, and here's one that's actually exactly the same elevation for whatever reason. Okay, so that shows you a lot of my points that I've used. I've analyzed mine, I've showed my elevation from pump. I want to label my terrain and annotate those features and then show you how we can turn those on and off. So as I go through this, I do have everything on. I want to also show you, if I go up to OpenRoads models, you're going to see my terrain models here. Okay, so I have existing ground. I haven't brought in my bridge yet, so let me go ahead and do that. From File, bring the bridge land XML in, done. Again, if I want to choose this on structure, it's going to be source and definition. You won't do it source or definition, you want both. Okay, so that'll get you your points and anything else, so your points and your chains. And I'm going to import terrain only. Again, if I imported both, I would end up with embedded graphical features for points and graphical features for chains. In a case where you had no field book data, you just had a terrain model, that is one way that you can pull in all the points and all the chains that were used to create that terrain model. That can be very handy because you can go into those graphical points and turn them into a field book. And so in this case, I'm going to import this terrain model, this bridge terrain model, and then show you that under OpenRoads standards, if I want to, I can turn off the level, but there's another way I can do this. I can look at the feature definition of these terrain models, and I can just unvisualize. See the check marks? I can unvisualize the structure right here. Okay, for instance. I want to turn everything off in my field book for the moment, just to show you what's inside of this terrain model. So if I select this terrain model right here, go to properties, look at my calculated features, What if I want to see my flow arrows? Okay, it's going to show you the flow of water. What about high points? There's some high points in the file, low points in the file, and then whatever spot shots were used to create this terrain model are there. And of course your triangles, you've seen those. Also, if you look at source display, the boundary is always on just about. Any break lines that were used, these are the ones I was talking about, the graphical lines that are embedded in the terrain model. I can export these, just these graphics, and get these into the file, but they will be graphics. Also, let's see, any feature spots that were used to create this terrain model are also in this file. Let's see, I'll leave the boundary there, the break lines and feature spots off. Oh, voids. I do have a couple of voids in there. I've got my building and I have my yard drain, okay? So there's a couple of voids. So the elements that were used to create this terrain model are embedded in the terrain model, and you have access to them up here up top, okay? So meanwhile, let me turn those back off actually. Let's see, turn all my stuff back on. If I wanted to select that terrain model, I can always do it over here under Open Roads Models, and it shows it right here, the existing ground. Here's my thing. I can turn on triangles, etc. here. In this case, I'll select it, and I want to turn off anything I left on. I left those voids on, okay? All right, so now what I'm looking at, and I can turn these triangles off now. So I can turn these triangles off, everything else is on. So Open Road Standards, I can turn my DT, let's turn these back off for a moment, DTM. So because what I want to do now is I'm going to annotate, put some labeling on this file, and I'm just going to do it all at once. You can do them by feature, but in this case, I'm going to go to Drawing Protection. I'm going to annotate the entire file. It says the annotation element is right here. I'm not going to use the overrides, so just data point, and it's going to put any descriptions, or in the case of inverts, an elevation, okay, and it's going to put it on the correct level. If I look at it, it's text drain elevation underbar EP. So these labels are on the right labels. Your DOT survey, as I hit my quick check, 100% compliant. So I can use these labels if needed. Not all the districts require labels, but most do. All right, so I've labeled terrain. I can also turn these on and off globally. So if I go over to my Analyze, this right here, this is all annotations. If I select them, they're off. If I select it again, I can turn them on. All right. And so the last thing I want to do to this file is I want to create an alignment to show you a few more tools. And we have a few minutes left, so hopefully we can do this. I'm going to leave those off for the moment, go back to my survey tab, and there's a couple of levels I'm going to turn off. I'll just turn them off here, AC, just so I won't see it. That's not a point feature. I don't want my point features, I want my linear features. Here you go. So I'm going to turn that crown off, and I want to create an alignment from this baseline field that was put into the file by the surveyor, by the crews. Okay, so I'm going to go to my geometry tab. I'm going to select lines, and my feature definition is going to be baseline. I'm going to call this just BL is fine. The next one will be L1. It'll increase automatically, so I just leave it at that. Where am I going to start? I'm going to start here, and I'm going to move down here to this point and select it. And I'm not sure, something just went on. I don't believe it created it. Let's see, survey. where it made everything it regenerated. That's the reason it did that. So let me go down here to my BLF. No, it didn't create it out. It'll do it now though. Enter start point. I am baseline. I'm going to select this point. You see the direction it's going. Select it. Okay, put one there. I'm going to do the same thing again from this point. Put it down to the end of the baseline. Left click. It should be there. So when I turn my BLF, I should see both of those lines. I do, and they are baselines. If I hover on them and look, they're there. It's field code is default, but it is on the baseline survey. It's an alignment baseline. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to complex these together to make an alignment. The feature definition is going to be baseline, and the name, I'll just let it increase as it goes. It'll probably put it to BL2. So because this is BL1 and this is BL and BL1, so the next is probably going to be BL2. So as I hover on this, you'll see there's an arrow down at the bottom. Okay, that's because I'm up here and that's the direction I want to go. If I was down here, the arrow would be at top and I'd be going the other direction. So I want to go down and back to, I want to go south and then east. Okay, so I'm going to select both of these. Locate next element. There is no other next element. Reset to complete. So now what you're going to see is I do have a baseline. If I look at the properties, it is a complex element. It is made of BL and BL1, and then it is named BL2. Okay, I want to station that baseline. Okay, so let me go back to home and file and go back to my geometry tab. And I'm going to start station right here. So I'm going to select this element and I'm going to start it at zero, the zero distance. It says start distance. It's set as like it's in a station, but it is just zero. So I'm going to select 0. Now it wants to know what my station number is going to be. I'll make it 10 plus 0, 0. Hell, let's make it 15 plus 0, 0. Okay. Select that. So now when I select it and look at it, you're going to see it has a 15 plus 0, 0 in it, and it's going to be all the way through. Okay, so I have an alignment, I have it stationed. If I look at open road models, I'm going to see that alignment and I'm going to see that stationing. Okay. And you can also see it over in the properties, the same thing. Okay. Let's see. So I've created my alignment. I've stationed it. I want to analyze some point tools off of that alignment. So let's do that. So I'm going to go back to that home tab, use that same analyze point tool, but this time instead of selecting a terrain model, I'm going to select the baseline. And now I can go to any point and it's going to hover on the fly. It's going to tell me this found concrete monument is 35.53 feet offset at station 17 plus 84.806. I could label this. Again, it's one of those situations where you can place text or place it on the clipboard so you can see as I'm going down to or going to a monument to look at it, it could actually place text. I don't want to do that. But this is a handy tool to look at points and on the fly see what you've got, see what kind of station, what kind of offset you've got. Okay, there is another tool that I would like to show that really nice. So that is going to be the point feature. I've already showed you the rotate. There's a measure tool. I get that. The point feature station elevation offset report. Okay, just to show you, there is I'm going to go back to drawing. These tools, the measure tools are right here. They're nice measure tools. You can do it. It'll give you the distance right here, 44.556. Measure radius. If you have a radius, any kind of select it. It's going to give you the radius of whatever curve you're in or you're on. And I like this measure angle. I can put a couple of arrows in the direction and it'll tell me it's 92 degrees, 36 minutes, and 30 seconds is this angle right here. okay? So some nice edit tools that you want to use under home and reports. Let me deselect this first. Okay, so go look under home and look under reports. I have a point feature station offset elevation report. Okay, I want to use that. So it's going to say locate the baseline element. It's going to be this baseline. Now it's going to locate first offset element. I can choose my elements one at a time, maybe some monuments in here, something like this. Right click and it's going to give you the description of the element. It's going to give you the station, the offset, and the elevation of those points. Okay. Another way to do it would be to go up to your survey tab, go down to find points that you want to do it. Say, let's say in this case, I'm going to change. Let me look at all points and choose, how about an iron rod cap? Analyze details, select them all to create a selection set. Create selection set. I can close it so they're all selected. Locate the baseline, and here it is. Accept to use selected elements. And now it's going to give me a station description, station offset elevation report to all of these iron rods and caps. Okay, they're all RCs. You can do this with any element. It doesn't have to be an iron rod cap. So that shows you a lot of the tools that I wanted to show you within ORD. The open roads models, once you have everything there and you look under open road models, you're going to see your alignments, you're going to see your terrain models. Here you're going to, okay, any linear geometry I put out there would show up here, just to show you something. If I just put something out there, you should see it at some point. I have to do something else to do that. I won't get into that right now. But that shows you pretty much what you've embedded into the file. And then the last thing I want to show you is how to create those, or just show you my level display filters. Okay, so we have a complete file. I think everything is on in this file, off and on, including the. Let me do one other thing before I do this. Let me turn everything off except for, and that's because this level is current right now. I'm going to select this alignment and I want to annotate it. So there's a reason for this. So I want a data point to annotate. I could override this alignment annotations, go down here to linear, go to right of way, find my right-of-way center line baseline annotation group, and if I left clicked, I'm going to end up with the right-of-way annotations along that alignment. In this case, I'm not going to override it because I want the roadway elements in this file. So if I data point, it's going to create those roadway elements and in annotations. And that's the way they look. Just a word on those. If you go to your FDO survey, there are some filters. If you have a large project, miles of alignment, you're probably going to end up maybe with a 500-foot, 1 inch equals 500-foot scale. So you would change that depending on the scale of the model that you want, and it'll change on the fly. Okay, so this is how we change our annotations. Okay, so I'm going to go back and turn everything back on and show you over in my level display. I have filters on. All my levels are all on. I should be on. I'll turn them on if not. And I show you these filters, and I can show you. Let me go to Open Road Standards right here. I want to turn those models back on. Features, my terrain models, I think I had them both off. I do. Okay, so I want to have those on when I do these filters. So if I hit this terrain filter right here, if I hit this alignment filter, align RD, you're going to see that by default, let me change my baseline survey to something else that's not being used. I'll just put basis tie for the moment. So this is not, the levels are not on here. The alignment, the roadway purposely put terrain models in the alignment filter because this is their workflow. They want to see these terrain models. When they build existing features, they're going to be selecting the alignment, they're going to be selecting the terrain model, and they're going to clip out sections of that terrain model. So that's your alignment. My drainage, you note the levels, that's Trex, drain, label, underbar, EP, so these labels are correct. GDTMRD is just going to show any labels that are associated with it for there. And let's see, drainage, GDTMRD, topo RD, here you go. So here's your topo elements. You can create a 2D topo file from this. Here's your topo RW. So you notice that there's no feature, there's no annotations in the topo RW because they don't want those annotations. So they're not in the filter. What I would do is I would create a topo RW. I would reference this file to it, the serv.rd. I would go into the serv.rd, turn on the topo RW filter, so that's all I would see, and then I would merge to master, and then I have that gives me a topo RD. So you do that with any of these files. Same thing with utilities. Notice the labels are there, so any labeling that's going on is good. And we do have a few other some right-of-way mapping filters. There's a curb and gutter filter if you need to look at curb and gutters, and labels, plenty of labels, because that seems to be one of the areas where users want to see just the labels so they can do some editing. They might select them and make them change scale with annotations or something like that, So, so these filters, the non-standard filters, can be handy in creating your final deliverable. And that's what this is. If I hit a quick check, it's 100%. And that pretty much brings me to the end of my presentation. Questions? So, Matt, are you there? Or Mason?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You guys, I don't hear anybody.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now, Mason.
Sorry, I was unmuted, but I just had my
Yeah, did you see any questions I need to look at?
Nope, I haven't seen any questions pop up.
Okay, no questions at all.
Said good class.
Way to go. Good class, John. All right, I appreciate all of you watching. Hope you got something out of this. It's being recorded. We will provide the initial file with all the features in it, and we'll also provide a finished product right here you're looking at for you. This was done in 10.24. I'll see what I can do to provide you something for 10.12. But if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Okay, appreciate it.